Welcome to a special episode of the Chris Terrell Podcast. Now, if you listened to last week's episode, you heard that I shared a little fun story where I recorded a podcast and left it on my hard drive back in Arkansas when I went on vacation. What I planned to do was to edit it up and upload it while I was on vacation. No big deal. And then I forgot it. Forgot to bring it with me. And that was unfortunate. But here's the cool thing about this. We had a happy little accident. Last week, I wasn't sure what to do, so I uploaded a Guild exclusive podcast episode to the podcast, and I hope you got some great value out of that. If you missed that last week, be sure to go check that out. But that left me with a problem this week. What am I going to do? All I had with me was my wireless lavalier mic, and not usually where I record the podcast on, and I was thinking about what I could do, and I've recorded the podcast on it before. Wasn't my favorite, and I thought, you know what? Why not try something a little new? Why not get a little creative? Let's lean into what's happening, right? I'm all about being resourceful, and look, on a weight loss journey, you're going to have to be hella resourceful to get things done. And what I thought I would do is go on a walk and record as I go. But it's actually easier to record this with a video. So you're listening to audio from a video, and if you want to watch along with me, and I'm going to tell you in a second why you might want to do that, you could do that over at my YouTube channel, which I'll put a link to it in the show notes, or you can go to Chris Terrell Coaching on YouTube and find it there. But what I'd like to invite you to do is, if you're able to, I would like you to go on a walk with me. So if you're at work or something, or if you're driving, I'm going to invite you to stop listening to the podcast episode and go and listen to it when you're able to go on a walk. And I'm going to video my walk, and why don't you come walk with me and let's get some steps together. It's been a while since I've done a podcast episode where I invite you to go on a walk, but I've never done one while I'm walking at the same time. And I'm going to guide you through this walk, and I'm going to talk to you. I'm going to give you a chance to push yourself if you would like, or if you just want to keep it casual, you can do that too. And here's the cool thing. So right now I'm at 400 steps according to my watch. What we're going to do is see how many steps can we get on this walk. I'm not going to start a walk. I'm not going to have any idea how far we're going on distance. We're just going to look at the step count. So if you're at a gym, head on over to a treadmill, or even if you could, go outside, go walk, pause the episode, drive to a park, find somewhere where there's a path, come on a walk with me. Let's let this be an opportunity to get some more steps into your life, because steps is one of the crucial things for success on a weight loss journey. It's amazing how helpful steps can be. All right, I'm up to, according to my watch, 460 steps right now. I'm walking, and I'm not going to stop. And if you're watching this on video, I'm going to describe it just this one time. On video, I have it where it is showing the front-facing camera so you can see what I'm looking at, and then I have the camera facing back at me so that you can see my face as we're going. This is totally new. I've never done this before. I've actually never seen a podcast that does this, but I thought it might be really enjoyable. And I thought we could just talk for a little bit about weight loss and about long-term lasting success. This week, actually, here's something pretty cool. On the 30th of July, was the anniversary of hitting my goal weight, which was 165 pounds, and I'm 5'10". And I have now kept that weight off for longer than it took me to lose it, which is cool. I've never done that before, and I've learned many lessons along the way to get to this point. You see, I've lost weight before, like big weight, never 125 pounds. I think the most, if memory serves, it was 60 or 65 pounds was the most I'd ever lost in one go at it. And of course, I immediately started putting it back on when I decided to take a little break for weight loss. And, but keeping it off, this is truly new. Like I've never done this before. It's not that I haven't tried. I've tried to keep weight off many times. I always ended up putting it back on over time, but keeping it off. Now I'm the same. I wear the same size pants, wear the same shirts as when I lost the weight. I've not gained anything back. My physique has certainly changed some. You know, I have more defined muscles than I did before. My endurance is better. The small muscles are really catching up. My tendons and joints are improving slowly. Those jokers take forever to improve, I'm discovering. But I'm changing, and it's really cool. And it happens because I brought intentionality to it. I, in the past, wanted so desperately, whenever I would be losing weight, to just go back to how I was doing it before. I wanted to go back to just not thinking about food. I wanted to go back to getting to have everything I want. And so when I did, what ultimately would happen is I would gain all my weight back, which was a bummer. Hold on. See, 728 steps. Although I'm holding a lapel mic in my hand, I'm hoping that is causing the steps to register now as I'm thinking about that. It should. And hopefully you're walking with me. And what I want you to do actually, let's take a moment while we're walking. And I truly mean this. I want you to do this. I want you just to stop walking, and I want you to look around. You ready? Let's go ahead and let's just stop now. Go ahead and stop. Now, if you're in a street, keep going. Get out of the street. But I want you just to look around. Look at the plants. What kind of ground are you walking on? Like, I'm walking on a paved path, and I'm surrounded by shrubbery on either side. I'm in this beautiful neighborhood that has this lovely walking path. P.S. You folks in California, I'm going to call y'all out. Y'all got no reason to not be getting movement in life. Y'all got stupid amounts of outlets to go get walking in your life. Gosh, man, it's amazing. I'm in the San Francisco area. Why don't we go ahead and keep walking now? Just wanted you to take that moment. Look around, see what you notice. Let's just keep going. But there's so many opportunities to get movement into our life. And that reminds me of what it was like in the beginning of the journey, that hopefully it was this way for you, is there are essentially a limitless amount of opportunities to get more movement into your day. The challenge is these often are going to require you to sacrifice something. You're going to have to let something go. I don't know what that is. You know, I've been having this conversation with a lot of people recently. Like, what are you sacrificing for your goal? What are you sacrificing for your future self? What are you sacrificing for your future body? You know, I had to sacrifice many things. I had to sacrifice staying up till 2 a.m, playing video games. Eventually I actually had to make the sacrifice of video games. I'm not saying everybody needs to do that, but I did. Because I was a video game addict. And I had a real problem. I mean, a real, genuine problem. I was a high-functioning video game addict, but it was catching up to me slowly. And ultimately, I had to let it go. But when I look back now, it doesn't really feel like a sacrifice. You know, I had to sacrifice saying yes to everyone that offered me food, if I wanted it. Of course, I always said no if I didn't want it. That's the interesting thing. If somebody came up and offered me food that I truly didn't want, I never had a problem saying no to it. It was when I wanted it. And it was even harder when the other person knew I wanted it. But I had to learn to let that go. I had to sacrifice that for myself. And it's not that I sacrificed foods, and you don't have to sacrifice foods necessarily. But what it is you often will find you have to sacrifice behaviors. You'll have to sacrifice some activities. I had to sacrifice just sitting all the time. I had to sacrifice the chair to chair to chair to chair lifestyle, because the chair to chair to chair lifestyle was contributing to me becoming fatter and more out of shape. And ultimately, it was even contributing to a decline in my mental health. I'm not saying it's going to do that for everybody, but it did it for me. But as I sacrificed those things, I started gaining things in return. And as I started gaining things in return, it started to not feel so much like a sacrifice. And I'd like to use a metaphor, if I could, to explain psychologically what this is like. P.S. I'm over 1,000 steps now. And you know what, before we do the metaphor, let's do another one of those pauses. I love on a walk taking a pause and just looking around. So I'm now pausing, and I'm slowly turning the camera around. And I'm just looking, just seeing the beauty of what's around, what's here. I just saw some flowers. And again, I'm going to show them here on video. But they're these little beautiful red flowers next to this plant that looks really fuzzy. Hold on, I'm going to set the microphone down. I need to set my hand. I want to touch it. Hold on. Yes, indeed. That plant was fuzzy like it looked. but it was a little prickly. All right, let's continue the walk. So let me tell you a little metaphor that often happens. And I share this a lot with my one-on-one clients and in group coaching. Let's say you've moved into an apartment, right? It's your first apartment you've ever had, you and your husband. And it's got this galley-style kitchen. If you don't know what galley-style kitchen is, basically a kitchen in a hallway. And they're not the ideal, but guess what? It's your first apartment. You've never had a kitchen of your own. You've always had somebody else's. And it's pretty awesome because this is yours. You can put stuff in the cabinets wherever you want them. You can cook how you want to cook. This is your kitchen. You can do whatever you want, and it's awesome. And you love this kitchen because it's yours. But after 2 or 3 years, your income has gone up a little bit, and you're beginning to realize you could afford to get a house, and you'd like to get one. And you and your husband have been really good about saving, and you've managed to save up a down payment. And so you get a house. And so you move into this house built in the 50s because it's what you could afford. And you love this house. It's huge. You go into this kitchen compared to your galley-style kitchen that you were really kind of starting to get a little annoyed at because it is small. You're like, oh, look how big this kitchen is. This is awesome. And you love this new kitchen. It's amazing. After about 4 or 5 years, you and your husband still continuing to keep up with the habit of saving, you realize that, this kitchen's got some problems. Who in their mind decided that putting tile on countertops was a good idea? This is a stupid-ass idea, you think to yourself. Grouted tile for counters, blah. And you look at the cabinets. They're so shallow. You can't put very much stuff in them. You're constantly complaining about your favorite plate set that you had doesn't fit. You actually have to keep it on the lower cabinet, which is super annoying. And you need to go buy different plates to fit in these narrow cabinets. And of course, the fridge is in the wrong spot relative because this house was built in a different time and they didn't think about it. And there was nowhere for a microwave. So the microwave is taking up counter space that there's really not as much of as you initially thought. There's no island. And it's sequestered, right? You can't see into the living room. So you're always feeling cut off from everybody whenever you have guests over. And the oven is old. And you're beginning to think, I don't know if I like this kitchen anymore. I think we're done with this kitchen. Like, you're really fed up with this kitchen. So you turn to your husband and say, I think I want a new kitchen. Okay, let's get that new kitchen, he says. And so you decide to rip out your kitchen. Why? Because you can't put a new kitchen in when the old one's still there. So you're thinking the demolition is going to be fun. You've never done this before. Your husband brings home a sledgehammer and says, you want to take the first blow? And you're like, hell yeah, I do. And you look at this. You look at those tiles on that cabinet counter. You just been sick and tired of cleaning the crap out of them. You're like, this would be so great. And you take a sledgehammer and you just smash the shit out of it. And look at those cabinets that you can't put anything in. You just demolish them. And you just start taking a hammer to everything that you've hated about that kitchen. And it feels so good, just destroying this kitchen. P.S. 1,500 steps. And you're just like, this is great. And it feels so good to demolish this kitchen. Well, the fridge needed to go somewhere. And at first you were leaving it in there, but you needed to clear it out because you also want to rip up the flooring. And so you take the fridge and you put it in the garage, and your dishes you put in boxes, and you're using paper plates and cups, plastic silverware, which you don't really want to do. And you've ripped the flooring out, and now it's that exposed plywood, and it's really uncomfortable to walk on. And sometimes you get splinters, so you have to wear shoes pretty much. If you walk in there, you have to walk very carefully. And so you're just getting sick and tired of going in there. But plumbing's got to be moved. So you've ripped the walls out because you want to move the fridge somewhere else and you water run to it. And essentially this kitchen is now rendered useless. And of course, if you've never done a remodel before, this is taking far longer than you thought it would. 2 months have gone by. You've had backups and in supplies, and this kitchen is still unusable. And you're like getting real sick and tired of going into the garage to get food out of the fridge. You're sick of washing your dishes in the bathtub. It's just getting really old really fast. You're eating out, so you feel like this is tapping into your budget more than what you thought you would. And you're starting to get really annoyed, and you're just like, gosh, I think we've made a mistake. we really made a mistake. I wish we didn't have this. I wish we didn't do this. And so you're just wishing desperately you could go back to where you were. Because you know what? What you've got now sucks. This sucks. You hate it. This sucks. And so you're just thinking, at least that other kitchen I had was a kitchen. This is annoying. I don't have anything. You're getting so mad. You're second guessing yourself. You're doubting if you should have done this. You're like, I'm probably going to hate this new kitchen. Why did I even do this? This is awful. Why can't this be done? You're just feeling it. Everything inside you wants to go back. Well, now before we continue with the metaphor, let's talk a little bit about you and your journey. There's going to be chances that you're going to start sacrificing things in your life in the name of your goal. You're going to start sacrificing the activities. You're going to start taking away certain things from yourself so that you can create space for new in your life. You're going to stop spending time with certain people around food. You're going to stop playing the video games like I did. Whatever it is, but you're going to start making your sacrifices. And as you're going through that, on the other side of it, after that initial, this feels so good to take control of myself. On the other side of it, you're like, gosh, this sucks, right? You're trying not to turn to food to cope with your stress, but you haven't found anything else that works as good yet. And you're desperately trying not to go back to food to help you manage your stress. Because you have a problem. You don't just do it a little bit. You overindulge, and you do it too often. So you're frustrated and you just want to go back. Now, you see, in real life, you could just go back. You just go to the store, buy the food, put it in your house. But you see, in the metaphorical kitchen, you can't undo it, right? The kitchen's gone. So you have kind of no choice but to continue on. So why don't we get back to the metaphor? Actually, before we do that, let's do another pause. I want you to stop walking and look around. And just find something, some detail that you haven't noticed before. Something you might have missed. Ooh, here we go. I've got a little bee flying. I'm going to see if I can get the camera close to this bee. Do you see the bee in the camera, those of you watching? Look at that little guy. Bees are so awesome. I'm glad we got bees everywhere. All right, let's continue our walk. I'm at 1,800 steps. And so, back to the kitchen. Now, finally, the flooring guy comes in, the flooring that you've been back ordered forever, it shows up, and they put the flooring in. Thank goodness. You've never been more grateful for the ability to walk into a room barefoot than now. And then, not too much longer after that, the cabinet guy shows up, puts in the cabinets. And you can't use them yet, because they're still, just a frame. But you can see it. It's getting close. There's signs that your new kitchen is coming, right? And then the counter guy shows up, puts the counters in. And then you make another change, and then another change. And then all of a sudden, you realize you can take all the plates out of the boxes and you can put them into your cabinets. Then the plumbing's turned on, and you don't have to wash your dishes in the bathtub anymore. The electrical's done. You can move the fridge from the garage back into the kitchen. And slowly but surely, that new kitchen that you wanted so badly arrives. And there it is. And then you get to use it. And it's as awesome as you thought it'd be. In fact, it's even more awesome. Remember that wall we had to knock down so that you could see into the living room? You're now hosting those parties that you always wanted to host. And you're able to see into the room, everybody visiting together. You no longer have to have that cut-off feeling with two separate parts of the party. Oh, it's so cool. Now, this is, of course, the metaphor for change. Now, in the kitchen, of course, you can't just walk it back, right? There comes a point of no return where you have no choice but to just continue forward. And there are probably some things on your weight loss journey that you could do the same thing, where you could undo something. Like in my case, one of the things that was causing me to emotionally eat was the fact that I needed to leave my job. The job wasn't any good for me. And I could change my mind at any moment, but the moment I sent that resignation letter, the moment I clicked the mouse, I had passed the point of no return. I had demolished a metaphorical kitchen in my life. And I had no choice but to go forward and to build that new kitchen, that new job. So it's not that you're destroying your food, we're going to say, or destroying your whole life. It's you have to find something in your life and you have to destroy it. But you have to destroy it to make room for something new. And if you won't remove something to make room for something new, nothing new can show up. If you want to turn to other things for instead of emotional eating, you have to not emotionally eat. You have to not do it. Because if you do it, you'll keep going back to it. In my case, when I wanted to emotionally eat, I discovered exercise. And I discovered it very, very early on in my journey. Anytime I felt the urge to emotionally eat, I would tell myself, go exercise for an hour. Just go exercise. Anything you want. It could even just be a walk. Just go move. And if, you want to eat, you can. Just go exercise first. Because I discovered if I told myself, no, you can't turn to food for your stress, that just triggered this defiance in me. That made the inner 2-year-old have a little tantrum within me. But when I said, you can do it, but you need to go do this first. You know what I discovered? When I created that space, when I wouldn't let myself turn to the food, and the feelings were there and I wanted them gone, and I wanted to work through it, I discovered that if I just went and exercised, I felt better. The goal wasn't to not eat. The goal was to exercise to see if it made me feel better. Have any of you ever noticed when you wake up in the morning, you feel particularly ready to go with your journey? It's a lot easier to stay on track. It tends to fall apart near the end of the day for many of us, right? Well, that's because you're in a good emotional state. You're rested. Again, not everybody. I mean, there are my worst parts. See, I was even waking up not in a good place. But many of us, we wake up in a good place. And by the end of the day, we're falling apart. Well, when I discovered when I exercised, on the other side of the exercise, I felt good. And I began to notice that when I feel good, I don't want to emotionally eat. I just don't want to. I can. I leave the door open. I'm welcome to walk through it if I'd like. But I don't. Because I don't want to. That's one of the things a lot of people like about the GLP-1s is they don't want to eat. It's amazing how often people will find success when they don't want to do the activities. But creating that, right? Like, how do you get yourself to not want to emotionally eat, to not want to turn to food? How do you do that? Well, this comes by learning to master your state. Tony Robbins this is like his shtick. This is one of his big things where he is big on teaching people how to control their state. Because if you can control your state, your behaviors will probably follow suit. And I decided to finally believe the man. And when I would feel stressed, when I would feel depressed, I'd feel sad or anxious or mad or worked up. You know, those negative, unpleasant emotional states that would often cause me to turn to food. I discovered that if I changed my posture, if I changed how I talked, if I changed the focus of my thoughts, I couldn't control my thoughts, but I can control what I focus on. If I changed how I was moving, if I changed the music I was listening to, what it would do is it would begin to alter my state. And one of the most critical things about altering your state is movement. Moving. And he wasn't wrong. He wasn't wrong. It works. I've seen it work in my life for 5 years. Because of what I do, I've had the joy and privilege of seeing this work in so many other people's lives. And then I've done the research. There's research to back it up. The movement will alter your state. And if you go move your body when you're feeling anxious, sad, depressed, just go outside and go on a damn walk. Just go do it. You don't have to tell yourself you can't eat. Just say go on a walk first. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed at how many times on the other side of that you're like, I don't really feel like turning to the food. I actually feel a little bit better. P.S. 2,500 steps. What's your step count? Why don't we do another pause? Let's look around. Let's see what we can see. Again, if you're watching this on video, I'm turning the camera around. I'm noticing some gorgeous flowers. Like, how about these guys right here? Wow. Those are really pretty. If you haven't noticed, I have a thing with pretty flowers. I like them. All right, why don't we continue on with our walk? I know I said I was going to give you opportunities to push yourself, but I think we'll save that for another time. I'm actually really enjoying this. I've never done this before. I'm holding everything in my arms. My right arm's getting tired holding up the camera. I'm gonna have to rig up something better for this. But this is fun. I think I might do this more. You know what? Actually, if you're liking this, if you're on Spotify, if you could do me a favor, look down in the show notes. You just pull out your phone right now. You can look at it. You'll see a field there where you can leave a comment. Why don't you tell me if you've enjoyed this? And if you're watching this on YouTube, why don't you let me know in the comment section if you've enjoyed this? If you have, I could do more of these. It could be kind of fun to go on these walks in pretty incredible places. I might even make a special trip just for you. Show you something beautiful on the video feed. But let's get back to the emotional eating thing and what to do. Emotional eating, you cannot just stop. You can't just stop doing it. I equate it to like a person that uses cigarettes to cope with stress. It's like, it may not be a good coping mechanism, but at least it is one. And for some people, it's the only thing getting them through their day. I'm not saying that's a justifiable reason to keep smoking, because it's not. And any of you that smoke, you need to stop smoking. It's not a good habit to continue. You need to stop. But while it might not be good, while it might not be a good habit to do, you're going to have to replace it with something. Just simply stopping the smoking isn't necessarily going to work unless you replace it with something else. Now, I have a whole emotional eating course in the Guild where we talk about this and the different styles of coping, between the difference between adaptive, maladaptive, and what do you do with them, But you have to replace it with something else, ideally something more empowering. And in my case, I replaced emotional eating with, you could say, emotional exercising. I would, instead of turning to food, I would turn to a gym session, or I would turn to a walk. Actually, in many cases, I had a lot of problems have been solved while I went on a walk and thought. And sometimes you got to push yourself really hard. Sometimes the emotions that you're feeling are really intense, that you have to work out really intense. Many of these workouts, I've actually cried while I did them. I've been that guy running down the road, boo-hooing, like sobbing, crying, as I'm just feeling an emotion while I run. When I first started doing that, I thought it was crazy. But as I've gotten to know over the years many, many other runners and many other people that have used walking and running instead of food, I've had they've echoed their experience, saying that they too have discovered how powerful this can be, how effective it can be. They too have discovered it. And that they've also cried while going on a run or on a walk. And you know what? I would always feel better after I do that. The one thing I gotta say is, when I turn to food, it might have got me through it, but it didn't always leave me feeling better. In fact, many times I felt ashamed at my lack of self-control, at my lack of will. I wish I hadn't have brought the shame, though. The shame wasn't helping. All the shame did was make me feel bad. And I didn't need to make myself feel bad. Somewhere in my past, I don't know where I picked this up, but somewhere in my past somebody taught me, or maybe I figured it out on my own, that I'm supposed to feel bad to motivate myself to change. Don't do that again. Maybe it's the punishment from parents or punishment from society, that we use pain to incentivize ourselves to do something or not do something. But kicking myself when I'm down just made it harder to get back up. What I really wished well, I guess I don't have to say what I wished it did because I started doing it. What started working a lot more effectively was treating myself with kindness, was treating myself with grace, was encouraging myself, saying things like, you can do this, do better today. I'm not talking about letting myself off the hook, right? I mean, if I gorged myself, it was okay to be like, that was unacceptable, that wasn't okay. That's fine. But I didn't have to then just lay in on the guilt and be like, come on, you fat piece of shit, why'd you do this? Saying stuff like that to myself didn't help. Gosh, you're so undisciplined, you have no self-control. I'd say things like that to myself. How come you're never going to get better? Look at you, you're never going to get better. That's what I'd say. And the problem was, I believed me. I actually believed me. And so I acted accordingly. Truly, this journey, you have to believe in yourself. 3,100 steps. You have to believe in your ability to be successful. If you don't believe in you, you're not going to do the little things that matter. You're not going to go on the small walks. You're not going to say no to the half a cookie that one time. You're not going to get that fitness tracker and start tracking your steps. You're not going to focus on your sleep. You're not going to focus on staying hydrated. You're not going to start looking for all those times you're emotionally eating. You'll just do nothing. Because why even try? I'm not going to be successful after all. You might think that. And that would be tragic if you talked yourself out of moving forward. A lot of times I used to think I quit a diet because it wasn't working. But you know why I actually quit? I was quitting my bad attitude. I was running away from the person that was berating me. Only if I just stopped trying to lose weight, if I just stopped failing, I'd stop being so mean to myself. And I think ultimately what I was usually wanting is I just wanted to stop being so mean to myself. I think in life, I think we're all looking for the same thing. Contentment of the heart. We're looking for peace within ourselves. We're looking to love ourselves and to hear it without somebody else saying it. Andy Grammer has a song that's been really standing out to me. I've been listening to it a lot lately to remind myself of something I already know. The lines go, I want to love myself without needing someone else to say it to me. Because I can be mean in my mind, beat myself up all the time with awful thoughts, and I can eat myself alive. But I'm going to try. It's going to be an awkward talk. But I love you. I don't know why I can't hear it unless it comes from someone else. But I'm going to finally find a way to hear it when I say it to myself. What a powerful message in a song. If you don't know it, you might go look it up. Okay, champion. 3,300 steps for a walk. I'm done. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here. And I've hoped you've enjoyed going on this walk with me. I'd love to hear what you think. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments if you're on Spotify, or share them on YouTube. Or come into my Facebook group, which if you're not a part of, I'd love to have you come join my Facebook group. You can find a link to that at christerrellcoaching.com, and I'll have a link there. And I also, on my YouTube channel, I go live there every Monday morning, and I would love to have you come join. It's at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. I'm not doing it on vacation, so I won't be there this coming Monday, but I'll be back the following. And I would love to talk to you about weight loss, keep you centered, keep you focused on your goal, help you achieve everything that you want to have. The reality is you deserve to have the body and life of your dreams. You don't need to do anything to deserve it. You got to do something to get it. You're not going to get it for free, but you do deserve to have it. See you next week, champion.